In the second video of the Process Printing Setup series, I'd like to discuss the part and list structures and how to add your own types of parts into this product. In the first video, the overview, we went through description list, process types, and default processes. In this video, I want to go through creating your own parts and their categories for those parts, and then the list that go with those, as well as adding those into the surface types and print process types. To begin with, if we're in control, where we were before, we had added a second process type. We had the roll stock, and we added a flat stock, which therefore changes all of our other options. If you recall, we changed the usage to area, and we've moved it in. Now, what if we have to add all new products that are not already structured in the system? Similar to in our example we did for bottles. Let's say instead of bottles, we have name tags that we now want to add and then be able to pull into this process printing to be able to utilize the name tags in different ways. Well, first of all, we need to add those name tags. So in the part setup, and again, this is price setup, pricing setup, all pricing, and then part setup. And then under materials is where we'll want to put those materials. You'll see there's already one for process sample materials. These are those bottles that we had added, but we can use that as kind of a template. Let's say in that category, we need to add these name tags. And again, I could create a whole new category by highlighting the materials, hitting new category, or new subcategory. But for this sake, I'm just going to add them directly to the process sample materials. And we're going to do both plastic name tags and metal name tags. So I'm going to add a new part subcategory for plastic name tags. And I'm going to also add one for metal name tags. Now I want to populate one of these categories. The easiest and most efficient way to do that is find another material in the system that has the same properties as this one and clone it and move the category that it's in. What I mean by that is if you're adding materials that need to be cut or are done in a roll, then you'd want to clone one of the roll goods. If it's a flat stock, you'd want to clone one of the flat stock items. Therefore, all the fields are there that you'll know you'll need. In this case, these are 1-up each items, and so I'm just going to clone one of the bottles because it'll have the same values. So I'm just going to clone that. And we'll say aluminum name tag. Tag 2x3. But now we want to change the category that it's in to the plastic name tags. Or, metal name tags in this case. So that it goes into the new category. Then my units, since I cloned the other one, should be each. And I can go in and say I'm tracking cost and put in the cost of those name tags under the cost field if you'd like. And we'll say they're 25 cents a piece. Now, depending on the material, if it needs to be cut, it will need those user-defined field values. In this case, The next thing we want to add is the user-defined field to define the processes that are going to be occurring to this product. In this case, we probably won't print directly to them, but we may engrave them. So we need to add the values for engraving. To do that, you'll want to scroll, shrink some of this screen a little. The tabs across the top of the part to the advanced. Here, you'll see a listing of all the user-defined field tabs that are available. If you're familiar with setting up the other parts, if you're setting up an engraving part, it would have a cutting and routing user-defined field. So let's click on that and add it, and you'll see it add to the top. In this case, we're not going to cut these tags, but we are going to do some engraving in them. And so we want to make sure we put in the defaults of that information that are required, meaning the default bit width that we use and the default depth that we use. If you sandblasted this item or did any other items, if you printed directly to it, then we'd want to add the print material user-defined field as well. Depending on the processes, I recommend you view the other videos and the part setup videos for that information. Once we have this part complete, I'll save it, and it will place it into the metal name tags category. And then you can clone this item over and over again to get your parts into the system. Now that our new part is saved, let's build out the selection lists that go with these categories. If we're looking at the selection list in the product setup again, under selection list, right now I'm currently looking under the process sample list, which is under composition signs. You'll see there are already some set up for those bottles we discussed. So let's create some new ones for these name tags. I would recommend that you clone something that is similar on list in the same way we do parts. Lists have multiple options to them, and you wouldn't want to miss something. So in this case, let's just take a clone of the sample bottles, and we'll call this sample name tags. In this case, you'll see that there's already a dynamic list to glass bottles. This glass bottles is referring to a part category. Let's go ahead and insert a new one, dynamic part category, and we'll look up the metal name tags that we created. Now you'll see that we've added the metal name tags. Let me just scroll to the right, make sure there isn't anything filled out. There isn't. Take glass bottles, and we'll remove that from our list. So now we're just stuck with the metal name tags, and save it. Then I'm going to clone this one again to create a plastic name tags list. And do the same thing with the dynamic list. Add dynamic part category, and we'll pull up the plastic name tags. Deleting then the metal name tags and saving it. So now I have a listing of my different categories of name tags, but I need the name tags themselves, or the name tag types. In this case, you'll see one for bottle types where it's referring to both the glass and the plastic. In this case, I'm just going to clone this one. And we'll say sample name tag types. Now, we have plastic, but we'll need a metal. And you'll see you have a material list. This is a secondary, meaning if I choose metal, what list do I want to appear? That list would be the sample metal name tag list. You can pull it up in here or just start to type it. The list. And we said metal name tags. And plastic name tags. So now we have a list defining between metal and plastic and what those materials might be. And I'm going to save that. So now what you've done is you've structured your material categories, you've added the materials, and now you've built the list to go with them. The last part of this process is adding it to a surface type. So what I mean by that is our surface types, if you remember, were flat stock, roll stock, photopolymer, etc. But nowhere in it did we have an option for name tags. So we need to add that as well. So if I come down to surface material types, this is my options for flat stock, roll stock, photopolymer, and you'll see that we've got one for bottles. Now let's add one for the name tags. So I'm going to insert a row. I'm going to say name tags. And I'm going to move it up one just because I want other to be last. Here it wants to know what type of material usage is it, meaning are you doing it as an each, meaning per name tag, or are you calculating by the square foot? In this case, we're doing it by the each, so I'm just going to reutilize the one for eaches, which we've used in bottles and in other places. So I'm just going to copy that with a Control-C and paste it back in. Now, as far as the material list, this is the material list we just created. So in this case, and again, you can just start typing it in, or you can go search through the material list to find the one we have. And we have the name tag types. There's one other column that gives the mathematical functionality of how this works, and it's each stock, linear stock, similar to the other options, except this option gives you your things such as if it's flat stock or roll stock, it will give you the option to use a full sheet, just area, or calculated. For each is just each. And again, I just use the Control-C and then the Control-V to lock it in there. So now we've added name tags to our surface material type. We'll save that. Great. Now let's go back and now we have to add this as a part to define what it will be, meaning here in my parts, we've added those parts. Under others, there are the process printing process types. This is the flat stock we added, and then the roll stock we added. That was there that we cloned into flat stock in the first video. Now let's create one for these name tags. So I'm going to clone an existing one. I'm going to go change my part to process name tags, or whatever you would like. And then we're going to go down to our composition sign process type. And you'll notice now in the piece type, since we've added it to that list, it is now in our list here as a name tag. We could then choose a default if we'd like to default metal or plastic, or we can leave that to option open. And this is each only. And if you wanted to charge a scrap percentage, you could. And then what do we do to this product? We don't really laminate it. We may print on it. We could, I guess, add cut vinyl to it. We could screen print on it if you do that. We could engrave it. And that's probably about, and we'll finish it. And the rest of these I'm just going to get delete because we don't do these anymore. To name tags. And we'll save this part. Now we've added the new surface and we've added a new process type. So let's take a look at what this now does in an estimate. So if we're in our process printing, you'll now see that I have my options for name tags. That name tag will now determine our material, whether it's metal or plastic, as well as give us our list of what name tags we're utilizing, as well as then what options we need for these name tags. This concludes our second video in the process printing setup. The third video is regarding adding multiple list structures if this process printing product needs to be cloned for different functions. Thank you.